Hi y'all. I'm really excited to make this video. I think I am ready now to tell you all the truth, and you will see at the end of this, few if anybody has ever told you this before. So who am I and what authority do I have? Well, my name is Lindsay and I live in Texas, and I I'm not going to go into what happened, but something huge happened to me. Something really huge. My heart was completely broken, and I was at the point where um, I just needed answers, and I didn't really care what the truth was at this point. I just really needed the truth. Okay. Um, so it took me down a journey of just so much learning, cramming, studying. I dedicated a lot of time to this, and I found out some really interesting things. I find that there's a lot of people that claim that they know the truth, but no one that I personally had met had really sought after it like I did. I mean, I lived every day just to find another piece to fit to the puzzle, and now I no longer really look at pieces. I may not have the complete whole picture, but I have enough now that I can really see. I can really see. And this answers so many things. When you put all this together, it really answers a lot. And I'm sorry that this is a long video, but actually I'm going to go through these facts like so fast. There's so much to cover. So I'm not asking you to just believe everything that I'm saying. I'm asking you to hear what I say and to look at this yourself. Because if you are somebody that's seeking truth, or somebody that has found truth and seeking for somebody who has found it as well, there's nothing stranger than the day that you wake up and you're awakened and you realize what's going on, and you get that matrix feel, like you're just living in the matrix, and you're like, why can't anybody else see this? So I'm going to go ahead and begin. Okay. We have to go really far back in the beginning to start this. Okay. And I realize that some of you that are going to be listening to this do not believe in the Bible. I realize that some of you do believe in the Bible, and either way, you know what, that is okay. I am going to refer to some things in the Bible, but I want you to know just ahead of time that I am aware of the changes made in the Bible, but I don't think that knocks out all the credibility. And I'm going to show you why, and I'm going to show you the changes. I'm going to cover all of that. Okay, so don't be turned off by something I say, because I may really surprise you with where I'm going with this. All right. So we see that biblically, before the earth was created, the angels were. Okay, and this is actually a pretty important fact to consider. All right, you can read where the angels were praising the Father as He created the earth in Job 38. 4 through 7. Okay, we also have to understand that where these angels reside is not it's not in our dimension. Okay, so they where we as here are just restricted to our five senses and time, they that means that they could possibly not be restricted to those. Okay. With time here on earth, there's no way around it. The clock ticks, you can't stop it. You age, you can't turn it back. We can't reverse it. You get what I mean. And now I want to take you to this story. All right, it's kind of taken from an AA meeting story, but just hear me out, it's a little bit different. Okay, so we're going to imagine a two-dimensional world. Okay, we're imagining a circle on a piece of paper. All right. So a circle, it's just flat. In a three-dimensional world, that circle becomes now a sphere. Okay. So if this circle has been in a two-dimensional world its whole life, all right, it has its friend the triangle, the square, whatever. When it is tried to describe from somebody from a three-dimensional world, hey, guess what? You're a sphere, and this is what a sphere is. even if the three-dimensional being explains the sphere, the two-dimensional circle is going to have no idea what this three-dimensional being is talking about. It can try to understand, but really it's not going to grasp the concept, okay? So now we take the circle from a two-dimensional world and move into a three-dimensional world, all right? So now this circle is now a sphere and is open and exposed and can see itself for what it really is. Never before in the two-dimensional world could it have possibly imagine what it was like to be a sphere. So imagine the same thing on a 4 or 5 or up to a 10-dimensional world. As someone living in a two-dimensional world cannot grasp the concept of a sphere, we cannot grasp the concept of what goes on in these other dimensions, including timelessness, but we can try. Okay, so first let's know we cannot say a time that the angels were created, because it is possible that they have no time at all. There was a time, though, that the earth was created, because obviously the earth is in our dimension where we experience every day. The earth did have a beginning, okay, because the earth exists in time. The first line in Genesis reads, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." Now, no, this doesn't mean what maybe one would think. Now, notice it's heaven, like singular, okay? There's many times referred to as heavens, plural, okay? So this does not mean that on that day the Father created the earth and the heaven at the same time, like the heaven that we think about where people think they're going to go whenever they die. But in many references, heaven is the word given for the universe or outer space, okay? This is just one layer of many other heavens, okay? So the beginning, the Father created our universe and our earth. So now if you don't believe this, if you believe in the Big Bang or what have you, don't turn away. It's okay. I like science too, and I'll be adding some of it later to this. The first thing that our Father created after this was light, okay, as it reads in Genesis. So let's skip the part to where he created the water and then the grass, and then go to where he created the sun and the stars. All right, we read, "And God said, Let there be light in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years, and let them be for the lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth." And it was so. So, did you catch that? The light was created before the sun and the stars. This is a really important fact to consider. Right in this first page, we find something absolutely amazing. We find quantum physics. Okay, I'm going to get a little scientific on you. Just hold on. Let me explain, okay? Each cell in anything you can imagine is made up of molecules, okay? Each molecule is made up of atoms, all right? For a long time, scientists believed that atoms were the smallest thing until they discovered that atoms are made up of electrons, neutrons, and protons. Okay? In connection with Einstein's familiar formula, E equals mc squared, we have been taught that matter and energy are equivalent, that we can convert energy into matter, and that energy in a piece of matter is equal to the mass of the matter times the speed of light squared. E equals mc squared, okay? Thus, even the minute amount of matter represent a lot of energy. However, when in the past it was believed that electrons were particle matter existing at some point in space now, according to particle physics, electrons are not particles all the time, but sometimes behave like waves of light. The current consensus is that they both are wave-like and particle-like, as is all matter. Okay. In fact, in the world of quantum physics, it seems these elementary particles, including electrons, don't really even exist at all. What does exist are relationships, correlations, tendencies to actualize from the multifaceted set of potentials. Almost done with all the scientific stuff, y'all. Hang on. A quantum physics might say that electrons, like other subatomic particles, are described by a probability density state. At this level, it is strikingly evident that there may be no objective physical reality at all. All right. Have you ever heard the quote from Albert Einstein? "Reality is nothing but an illusion, but a very persistent one." He's absolutely right on this. Okay. When you look at a ceiling fan turned off, you see four planks. All right. Four planks of wood or whatever. When it's on high, you see it a big circle. This is how the atoms play inside everything. They are connected with some kind of force that causes them to vibrate so fast it creates something solid, like your hand. See? When in fact, there's not even much there at all, but there's a lot of it. These new physics tell us that matter may actually be nothing more than a series of patterns out of focus, and that subatomic particles aren't really made of energy, but they are energy. Okay? So we could talk on this for a long time, but the point is that we now know that everything, even the sun, even the stars, even your light bulb, everything is made up of this energy, and this energy is light. Okay, so it kind of gives us more meaning to verses like, I am the light of the world. Whoever follows me will not walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. And it is said that the earth was created from invisible things. Okay. And we see according to the Bible that the Father is light and the Father is invisible. And then we see that we are that he dwells in us. Well, we're made up of him. Okay, we're made up of this energy and this light. Every single thing that you can possibly think of is made up of this very light. All right, so just so we understand, the stars and the sun is not what makes the light. It is the light that makes the sun and the stars. Okay, so now, this next part that I have to explain is actually kind of uncomfortable for me, just simply because I know the reaction that a lot of people are going to have to this. They're really, really not going to believe it. So after I finally spit out what I'm going to say, please let me explain. Because we need to understand one thing, that there has been a plot now for a very, very long time to confuse the word of the Father. All right. There's even sneaky little things that they have done to the Bible that you are reading. So one may ask, so how can we trust the Bible? Well, we can, but I'll have to get into that later. So I would rather save this next fact, this really important fact, for later on in my speech, but I just have to go in order, and this is something really important to understand. Okay, so you hear, whenever you're trying to learn, come at it like a child. Just completely forget everything that you have ever heard. Okay, and hear me, and then take from it what you will. I hope you investigate it. Okay, so we're going to do a little bit of investigation here, and we're gonna uncover something really unbelievable. Okay, so now let's look at Ezekiel 28. We're going to go to verse 12. Son of man, take up the lamentation of the king of Tyrus, and say unto him, Thus saith the Lord God, Thou sealest up the sum, full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. Okay, in this, the Father is referring to Lucifer. So he sealed us up the sum, he's full of wisdom and perfect in beauty. Now, there are, I did look up to see who else was considered full of beauty, and I did find both male and female. Okay, so we need to go to the next verse. It says, Thou hast been in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was thy covering. Probably going to butcher some of these. The sardius, topaz, and the diamonds, the beryl, the onyx, the jasper, the sapphire, the emerald, the carbuncle, and the gold. The workmanship of thy tabrets and of thy pipes was prepared in the day that thou wast created. All right, so let's pause on this. This is again referring to Lucifer. Okay, Lucifer has been in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone, including gold, was prepared in thee in the day that was created. So all of these beautiful stones and gold was created for Lucifer. The day that Lucifer was created, they were created for Lucifer. So, okay, so we see that Lucifer has been in the Garden of Eden and was covered with every precious stone. Now I looked. The only men who are connected with precious stones are kings that wore them on their crowns, and the ones that were given precious stones as gifts, but I cannot find one that wore them or used them as their covering. Okay, I can find women though, and mainly the harlot that is mentioned in Revelations. Okay, we read, And the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. Okay, Now, this is going to be kind of hard for some people to accept, but I want to just throw this one verse at you just to think on and just to let it sit in the back of your head, okay? It says, "The woman shall not wear that which pertaineth unto a man, neither shall a man put on a woman's garment, for all that do so are an abomination unto the Lord thy God." Okay, you might kind of see where I'm going with this, but please, please hear me, okay? Um, in Ezekiel 28, Lucifer is called perfect in beauty. Every precious stone was thy covering the day thou wast created. Thou art the anointed cherub. Thou hast been in Eden in the garden of God. Thou wast on the mountain of God. That's a pretty big one. Thou hast walked up and down in the midst of the stones of fire. Thou wast perfect in thy ways till iniquity was found in thee. Thine heart, talking about the fathers, thine heart was lifted up because of thy beauty. Thou hast corrupted thy wisdom by reason of thy brightness. Okay, now again, these are all words being spoken to Satan or Lucifer by the Lord himself, and you can clearly see with these and many other things how close Lucifer was to the Father before Lucifer sinned. It also says that Lucifer was on the mountain of God, which is his throne room, and walked up and down in the very midst or middle of the stones of fire. Okay, this is the Lord's heart biblically. I mean, look at it into yourself. Okay, so he was in the middle of his living throne, and there was none closer to him than Lucifer. You know, you got to ask yourself a few questions that are kind of like questions when you think about it, but you probably have never really asked them before. What was it? Okay, we know biblically that 1/3 of the angels left heaven with Lucifer when Lucifer fell. They left with Lucifer. Why? Why would 1/3 of the angels team up with Lucifer? Okay, and then we need to ask ourselves this, and these are all biblically, sound questions. It says that the angels then came down. They're referred to as the sons of God or the children of God or whatever, come down and breed with human to create the Nephilim. Okay, so we do know by this that they were able to breed with women on earth. Okay, so they obviously were able to sexually function. Okay, so if these angels were able to sexually function, what about Lucifer? Wouldn't that mean Lucifer could sexually function as well? All right, and we need to also understand too, where is the holy mountain? We can look and see that the holy mountain is referred to as the city of Jerusalem. The holy mountain is where God's dwelling in Zion. God dwells on the holy mountain. The holy mountain is referred to as the New Jerusalem. So there's many verses speaking on this holy mountain, and even one where it says the lion will dwell with the sheep. Okay, to me, this is sounding like an Eden of some sort. And according to Job 3:17, this is where the Father actually dwells. Okay, it does refer to it as Jerusalem sometimes, but when you read it all in context, you can see that this is speaking about the new Jerusalem that will come down from the heavens in Revelation. So we can tell the holy mountain of the Father, where Lucifer once was, is the most highest kingdom that the Father himself dwells in, the heavens above all the heavens. Okay, not even the angels are there. So what the heck was Lucifer so special for? Okay, have you ever wondered? Anyway, so don't think that heaven is one place. Okay, there are layers of heaven, and there's a really amazing book. And it's a book of Enoch, and when you discover this book, this goes into really deep explanation of everything. that there are layers, and the Father is on his holy mountain and is above everything, above every heaven. Okay, some layers of heaven are not even layers that you would even want to be on. They're more like layers of hell. Okay, I may touch on this more, but if you have not read the book of Enoch, you really need to. Enoch was the man biblically that the Father favored in the Bible and took up to heaven, and he didn't have to die. So back to where we were talking about Lucifer. Okay, and trust me, y'all, I'm getting somewhere, and y'all are gonna be able to put some pieces together by the end of this. Okay, I'm looking forward to your feedback. Y'all don't even know how important this video is to me, just to get out and just to share this with anybody who will listen. Something so amazing found on this subject that we're talking about was found in the Dead Sea Scrolls. Now, the Dead Sea Scrolls were found in these caves by a shepherd in 1947 and excavated by archaeologists in 1949. And these are like the original copies of the books in the Bible. Okay, these are completely untouched and unmessed with. Okay, these are very, very reliable, and this is also where they discovered the book of Enoch, and I just want to kind of show you how the Father's timing works. Okay, in July 7th, 1947, the alien craze started with the crash in Roswell, New Mexico. Okay, that took the alien stuff up to a whole nother level, and aliens are very, very confusing to spiritually explain, but the book of Enoch really makes a lot of sense about it, and I feel like a lot of people are still pretty confused on this alien subject, and I hope that you'll all come to the realization to what aliens really are, because they are interdimensional beings, but they're that's a way whole nother video, but I believe that is important to learn because it does play a part, I believe, in the final, in the end, in deception. Okay, I think we are going to probably see some sort of aliens or interdimensional beings, and we're going to think that they're here for peace and everything, just like we've all been manipulated from children into believing through ET and and all these things. That's totally not what aliens are. Aliens are completely evil. They are the fallen angels, and I'm not even gonna get into that. Okay, so anyway, so back to the Dead Sea Scrolls. But so they proved something really, really amazing on this Lucifer subject. They let it be proven that the Bible was pretty accurately translated. The main difference was names. Okay, the name changes and the facts on that may be a little bit surprising to you. So what does it say about Lucifer? Well, let us first understand that the Old Testament never specifies Lucifer's gender. In Genesis, the devil is referred to as the serpent in Job and Satan. Okay, the terms he and him are not used. And also interesting, in the translation of the Dead Sea Scrolls, Satan is repeatedly called she and the temptress. This proves that the early Jews and Christians understood that Lucifer was a female. The confusion must have developed in latter centuries. Okay, so way a long time ago, in the beginning, before the little changes here and there in the Bible due to the Roman Empire, the devil was a female, always. In all the ancients, she was a female. Okay, and this is a huge piece. And I still remember when there was the guy who, probably you'll be watching this video, who was like, oh yeah, Satan's a female. And I'm like, what? And I don't think he realized by him saying that how many pieces were just going like, holy cow, that's huge. Okay, it's a pretty big news here, okay? So let me first tell you what got me into learning about this amazing fact, okay? And that was Lilith and my quest for her. Some people watching this are going to have no idea who Lilith was. So I'm going to explain to you her most popular mythology. Okay, you see her a lot. She's actually is mentioned in the Bible one time, not very descriptively, but Lilith was mythologically the most popular story of Lilith is that she was the one who was created first, not Eve. She was the first female. Now, what got me so into Lilith is as I heard somebody talking about it, and they were reading, they were like, look, it shows it here in Genesis that first he created male and female, then later he created male and or man and woman. And I'm like, well, I gotta see this for myself. So I look, and what do you know? There's a little loophole in there, and there's a possibility that Eve wasn't the first female. Biblically, there's a possibility. Not saying that it's so, but there's a little way for that truth, that reality to kind of slither in there. So, and if you read this, you'll kind of see what I'm saying. But anyways, so it was pretty amazing to me, and honestly, I actually wanted to prove this to be true. I wanted Lilith to be true. I was really excited at such a new discovery. This changed a lot of things, you know. But anyway, so Lilith supposedly was Adam's first wife, and Lilith, according to mythology, was the serpent, was the one who deceived Eve. Okay, so this was all very intriguing to me. And let me just show you one more thing where she's mentioned in Isaiah. It says, "Wildcats and hyenas will meet there, and billy goats will call to each other. Lilith, the night monster, will lurk there and find herself a place to rest." We also see in other versions her referred to as a screech owl. Okay. um Dang, I forgot to do something. I wanted to point this out, and I don't know if I have it word for word, but something with the screech owl. Okay, that's really weird to me. When I first started getting into all this, one thing that I saw that really got my attention, that was really raising some red flags, like what the heck is going on here, was with the Bohemian Grove. Okay, and that one time that there was one day out of the 2 weeks that there was a recording of this owl. Okay, it's a known fact. There's no denying that there's this huge owl out there. Okay, and a lot of people are like, oh, that's fake, that's fake. If you really actually dig into it, I'm sorry, I would love for it to be fake, but it's not fake. Now, if you listen to the little speech that's going on at the Bohemian Grove, the only time that it's been caught on video, and they talk about the Queen of Babylon. Okay, they talk about the mother, the queen. They're really focusing on this woman, and it's tied to Babylon. This is important. Remember this, okay? Remember this. And with this new knowledge, I really suggest for you to listen to it again, and you're going to be like, oh, what? When you hear it again, knowing this, it's just going to make a little bit more sense as to what's going on, okay? Now, ancient art has been left behind, leaving a breadcrumb trail for us to follow her story throughout history. Lilith has always been associated with woman dominance, equality, women rights, etc. As the story goes, Lilith was Adam's first wife. Like I said, Lilith was very sexual. Think of the Lilith Fair. What happened at the Lilith Fair? All these like orgies and stuff, okay? But she wanted, during intimacy, she wanted to be on top. She refused to be on bottom. She refused to be a lower status of Adam just because he was a male and she was a female. So, she went away and left Adam alone. Then the father said it wasn't good for him to be alone and created Eve from his rib. It's actually a very, very interesting story. Okay. When I first heard it, I was a little bit taken aback by it. But let's see. So this discovery led me down many roads studying on who this Lilith was, what happened to her, is she who populated the Canaanites? That was always a question of mine, which I did find the answer to finally. But anyway, so there was this one thing that kept creeping into my mind. I couldn't get it out. I just knew that I just couldn't shake this meaning, okay? Michelangelo has a very famous painting of Adam and Eve and the serpent around the tree of knowledge tempting them. The part that I kept on seeing as the other half of the serpent is a woman, okay? Also, according to mythology, Lilith was the woman who sabotaged Eve in the garden, like I said. Looking into older artworks, I could find a common theme with this half snake, half woman in the tree. But I was still mostly intrigued by the one done by Michelangelo because his ties to the Roman Catholic Church. And I think that this painting is actually there as well. I'll further explain the Catholic Church of Rome knows way more than what they are saying. It has a dark trail of secrets that can be traced back and conspiracies, and there is no doubt in my mind that these church leaders are very aware about what I am telling you. Okay, now you remember hearing that Satan deceived the whole world. Man, that is no joke. You know, I thought I was right with God. I thought I was. And then when my eyes were open, I realized that I too was deceived. And I didn't even know. Okay. So it's just amazing to wake up and just to see this. And it's like, how can I possibly show people this? I mean, really, you've got to want to know. You've got to really want to know. Okay. So anyways, man, I've got a lot to cover. So if Lilith was a serpent, who was the serpent according to the Bible? We can see according to the Bible, looking at all these verses, I'm not going to go through them, that the serpent in the Garden of Eden was Lucifer. You know, we said before, even the Lord said that that Satan, Lucifer, was in the Garden of Eden. Okay. Okay, so we see Satan is the ancient serpent. And we see in 2 Corinthians 11:3, but I fear lest by any means as a serpent beguiled Eve through his subtlety, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm not going to go through all these verses. The serpent was Satan, okay? And according to mythology, the serpent was Lilith. So hearing that it was possible that Lucifer could be a female, I realized that Lucifer could be Lilith as well. Because we see, as I'm going to show you, Lucifer's name and story has changed so much and been so many people throughout history. And I'm going to show you how this happened, okay? And so it's very possible to conceive that Lucifer is Lilith when you can understand and grasp the truth that Lucifer was a woman. Lucifer, man, people aren't going to like to hear this, but Lucifer was the bride of the Father. That's why they were so close. She was his bride. He's coming for a new bride. This could be the hugest battle of the sexes that has ever happened. And why did they mess with Lucifer and make him a male? Make her a male. Why did they make her a male? It was for a huge cover up, and I'm going to show you. Okay? All right. So we can see when putting all this together that Lucifer was a serpent in the Garden of Eden. Also, Lucifer is biblically stated to have been in the Garden of Eden. In the earliest, most untouched ancient writings, there was no gender place on Lucifer. Or the ones that were even more ancient referred to Lucifer as a she. After the change, there was no sex. And then slowly it became a him, okay, over time. So we know that Lucifer was closer to the Father than any other angel. The day Lucifer was made, all the precious stones were created for her, or him, if you're still not sure on this. Now let's take this ever so historically present story of Lilith and fit her into the picture. Let's see if we can mesh these people into the same thing like I'm suspecting, okay, because I'm just really, really suspecting this. And what happens here is things start to make sense, okay? So let's suppose, since Lilith is mythologically explained to be the serpent who tricked Eve, let's suppose that Lilith is a manifestation of Lucifer herself. Then was it Adam that she wanted the equality with? Or can we imagine it was the Father himself? Okay, think back of the story that you are most familiar with about why Lucifer fell. Is because he wanted to be like God. He wanted power. He wanted to rule with God. Okay, and wanted to be just as high. Thus, Lucifer and a third of the angels that followed Lucifer were cast out from heaven. These were the fallen angels that came to earth. Okay, these are talked about even in Genesis. So, just as Lilith is known in Satanism as sexual, powerful, a woman who refused to be lower than a man, it is everywhere, even with, like I said, the Lilith fair. What if Lilith and Adam is the myth, and Lilith is in fact Lucifer, the serpent that wanted to be as powerful as her partner, our Father? Okay, why? Here's another thing you can ask yourself. If Lucifer was being punished and was thrown out of heaven, why would Lucifer be able to rule the earth? I mean, it says in the Bible that Lucifer is the ruler of the earth. Why? Why would Lucifer be given any power? This was the Father's bride, y'all. Man, ugh. I know that's a hard one to swallow, but please look into it. You're gonna find some amazing things. Okay. Also keep in mind that I mentioned earlier in the Dead Sea Scrolls that Lucifer was called the temptress. Okay, man was created to take dominion over the earth and land and be king of the earth. Okay, the woman Eve was created to be the queen unto the man Adam, for it was not good for man to be alone. And woman was put in the garden east of Eden with man. Okay, this woman walked in the garden of man and in the midst of man's heart. And there was none closer to the man than the woman except for the Lord. Okay, until man put woman above the Lord and listened to her words and obeyed them, knowing that it was wrong and knowing that it was in disobedience to the Lord. Okay, so just remember that this real battle and argument is between the Lord and Lucifer, his queen. Okay, I know. Just hear me out. Okay, I've got some more. Okay, she is the queen of heaven. And you must also understand, when you study history, you can clearly see the desire to rule manifest in this world through all the great pagan empires that ruled the earth, like Egypt, Babylon, Persia, Greece, Rome, and others. All of them worshiped a great queen goddess, okay? And now this is where it's going to get very interesting. As I stated before, okay, well, maybe I didn't state this yet, but the flood was sent to destroy all of mankind, okay? Of course, except for Noah and his family, because they were favored. But this all occurred because the breeding between the angels and the humans creating Nephilim, which were also giants. Did you ever wonder why? I know you've heard the story of David and Goliath a million times. Did you ever wonder where a giant came from? There was plenty of them. These were the Nephilim, okay? And there's other ones as well with the elongated skulls. Check into those. A lot of people say, oh, well, it's because they wrap the baby's heads, but their plates, they have different numbers of plates. There's no wrapping of the head. It can change the form, but it's not going to change the structure, okay? These, if you use a little imagination, throw some skin on these skeletons, you're gonna see an alien. Okay, that's what they look like. That's what they are. That's what aliens are, y'all. Come on now. All right, they're not here for peace. Okay, so the flood did not kill the angels. It killed the Nephilim, the offspring, the humans. Lucifer will not even be bound until the end of days, and even then only for 1,000 years. So if the angels and God and everything is going to bound, if the flood did not kill Lucifer, the flood didn't kill the angels. It even says that they existed before and after, so they are still in existence, whether they are here on our dimension or in another dimensional existence or both. I don't know. Okay, but she has been here, and I will show you. You can see her everywhere in about every religion. They say religion was created to control, and this, my friends, is a true statement. And someone may be thinking, well, I thought God created religion, but sorry, God created man, and man created religion. Okay, so All right, so we have covered the beginning of Earth, the quantum physics link, how everything is made of light, the deception and the curse on man, meaning both man and woman. And when Adam and Eve ate the fruit from the tree of knowledge, we were under what they call then the curse of Adam. And what is this curse? This curse is death. For if you eat of the fruit, you shall surely die. Once man lived in utopia, felt no pain, no hunger, no sadness, no shame. And when Adam hid from the Father, he said he'd done so because he was afraid. This was a new feeling for them. Lucifer said it was because their eyes were open, and they were open to the earthly existence that Lucifer ruled. Lucifer is called the ruler of this world in John 12:31. This is not to say that he rules the world completely because the Father is sovereign, but it does mean that the Father, in his infinite wisdom that we can't even attempt to understand, has allowed Satan to operate in this world within the boundaries that he has set for him. When the Bible says Satan has power over the world, we must remember that our Father has given Lucifer domain over unbelievers only. Okay, believers are no longer under the rule of Satan. Unbelievers, on the other hand, are caught in the snare of the devil, lie in the power of the evil one, and are in bondage of Satan. But once the believers were still under this curse of Adam had to be broken. A bridgeway had to be created to the believers and the Father. In Colossians chapter 1, we read, giving thanks unto the Father, which hath made us to meet to be partakers of the inheritance of the saints in light, who have delivered us from the power of darkness, and hath translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son, in whom we have redemption through his blood, and even the forgiveness of sin. So the Son of the Father saved us from the curse through his blood. This was the bridgeway. The curse was broken for those who would believe. With that ultimate sacrifice. So here's a question that I really had with this is, what about the ones who died under the curse before the Son came and died? Well, this is something huge, and I actually do have a video on it. So check that out. Many don't understand this, and maybe I can touch on this later, but for now, let's stay in order. So we've got the creation of Earth, we have the fall of Lucifer, the myth of Lilith, and know why there was a curse of Adam and how it came about, what this curse was. What I'll leave the subject on, and you can check it out later in another video, is that the curse of Adam did mean death, and everyone who died before the Son was sent to hell. Again, I will cover this and show you something amazing with proof that is undeniable and biblical and historical. I mean, it'll just blow your mind. The truth will blow your mind. So we have to understand who we were talking about when we talk about the Queen of Heaven. Let's check out, we're going to have to check out another verse here shortly on the Queen of Heaven that's mentioned. She's mentioned in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 7 and chapter 44. In these, I'll be needing to go back to show you that the Father is not very happy about this Queen of Heaven worship. They're lighting incense, baking cakes for the Queen of Heaven, and pouring out drinks as offerings to her. These people say, we do it, our fathers have done it, our kings do it as well, and this just so happened to be going on in Jerusalem, among other places. In the chapter previous, it says that they are the gods of Egypt, and that our Father was going to punish them for all of this. Okay? So let's see. Let's just look real quick in chapter 44, verse 3, where we read, because of their wickedness which they have committed to provoke me to anger, in that they went to burn incense and to serve other gods whom they knew not, neither they, ye, nor your fathers. Howbeit I sent you unto all my servants the prophets, rising early and sending them, saying, oh, do not this abominable thing that I hate. But they hearken not, nor incline their ear to turn from their wickedness, to burn no incense unto other gods. So doing these things provoked the Father to anger. So who were they worshiping? What gods were these? When we read on, we see clearly the main God being worshipped here is the Queen of Heaven. Last thing, verse 19 reads, and we burned incense to the Queen of Heaven and poured out drink offerings to her. And did we make cakes and worship to her and pour out drinks, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so I want you to keep all this information here in the back of your head as we move along. What I'm going to tell you about now is from the reference of the book of Enoch mainly. And who is Enoch? Like I said before, you know who he was in the Bible. But Enoch is the great-great-great-great-great-grandson of Adam. And Enoch is the great-grandfather of Noah. Enoch came back to light in the late 1940s with the discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls. In Genesis chapter 5, we read that Enoch walked with the Father. He was very close to him, as a matter of fact. We also need to understand for later that Enoch was much more before the Son. Our Messiah had come to break the curse of Adam. Okay, he was before that curse was broken. Enoch was taken up without dying, and he was lifted to heaven. Okay, remember this. We will come back to it. Enoch was shown the heavens, plural, with the S at the end. He was brought back to tell his children what he needed to tell them and leave books that he had written about what he saw. These books are a treasure to whoever reads them. And they're not all complete. They're not all there, but they do put some major pieces together. Like I was saying before, as we move on in Genesis, we read something pretty strange, but the Nephilim were on the earth those days. Also afterward, when the sons of God went to the daughters of humans and had children by them, they were heroes of the old, men of the renown. So what are these Nephilim? Well, they were heroes of the old and men of renown. These are people that we probably have heard from in our history. Okay? They were on the earth then and later. Okay? So after the flood, they were still here. You can't kill an angel. All right? It says the Son of God went to the daughters of humans and had children from them. I would not go as far as say these sons of God are the Nephilim, but their children, they would be. Okay, so what are the sons of God? These were the angels that were thrown out with Lucifer. So these fallen angels came to earth and impregnated human women. Their children would be the heroes of old, men of renown. Next we read, the Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil at this time. Okay, so we see the Father is starting to see how the human race he had created was becoming wicked, and bloodlines of these fallen angels and their offspring, these hybrids. Okay, in chapter 6 verse 6 we then read, the Lord regretted that he made human beings on earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. Now let me pause right here, and I just want you to say, you're probably thinking, Lindsay, you're crazy, you're talking about hybrids and giants. Okay, well, yeah, I am, and thanks a lot to our museums and our government for making me sound like I'm crazy. But all throughout history, there have been giant remains. The tallest one up to 32 feet tall. There have been giant remains that are 3 stories tall found. And what happens? The museums buy these from people, and they are swept under the rug. There are still a few people that refuse to sell it and hang on to these things. These things are true. There was really giants found all over the world. Okay, there's a reason why they have covered this up. There's a reason. Okay, so what is he going to do now? The Lord says, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, the creatures that move along, blah 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 blah. Okay, so this doesn't sound very good. As you can see, Lucifer and the fallen angels had caused quite a problem. People were worshiping these fallen angels as gods and becoming wicked. The world was becoming totally corrupted. But we see as we read on that Noah found favor with the Father, and Noah and his family were spared and told to build the ark. This is how we have the story of the flood of Noah. Okay, the world had to be rid of the wickedness and the hybrids, the giants, and the Nephilim that were polluting the earth. The flood of Noah itself is a long, long story, and there's only one man that I've ever heard that has done it complete justice, and I just want to throw that in here. His name is Trey Smith. You can find him here on YouTube. He's got a lot of great videos. The one that I'm suggesting for you to watch is Noah. It's a must-see and will bring much more clarification to this story. So we know the flood occurs, and we can scientifically see that the flood has occurred. Okay, there's plenty of proof of this global flood, such as seashells on top of Mount Everest, but I'm not going to get into that. But the population has slowly grown back over time. The Nephilim are killed. They are half human after all, but no flood can kill an angel. I do believe they still exist. Remember, just as we read, they were in that time and also afterwards. Okay, these are interdimensional beings that we're talking about here. These are the ones that I'm afraid many have been fooled into believing that they are aliens, but don't worry, that little trick was all part of the plan. In fact, Lucifer is the ruler of the earth, and as the Bible claims, is not bound and shut away until the end of the tribulation. Even then, Lucifer will come back 1,000 years later. So can a flood kill these things again? No. Okay. Did the Queen of Heaven still exist after this flood? Yes, funny thing, she did. And what she did have up her sleeve this time would be the hugest deception that the serpent would deceive the whole world with. And I'm going to show you exactly how she did it. Okay? As we go on, you will start to see more than pieces. And you will also start to see a beautiful picture that will answer a lot of things, that has the ability to answer everything. Okay? We know after the flood that Noah and his family had to repopulate the earth. Now, Now, Noah had a son named Ham, and Ham had a son named Cush. Cush met and was captivated by a woman who we will see has many, many names, but for now we are going to call her Semiramis. Cush was a powerful man and married Semiramis, then bringing her into royalty status. Okay, they had a son. His name was Nimrod. Okay, so don't lose me here. All right, so let me just real quick. Noah's grandson Cush married this beautiful woman named Semiramis. They had a son. His name was Nimrod. They were like royalty, okay? So there are many theories on what happened to Cush, Nimrod's father. Some believe he died in war. Some believe he was set up by his wife to be killed. Either way, he died, okay? The story goes Semiramis, the mother of Nimrod, then shacked up with her son. Was this done publicly? I don't really have the answer to this, but we do know that she did become pregnant by Nimrod. So we got this so far. Nimrod is the great-grandson of Noah, was king in his status, and hooked up with his mother, Semiramis, and got her pregnant. Okay, again, this all, of course, happened after the flood. In the time of Nimrod's reign, he is the one who his mother, with his mother, created the Tower of Babel. Since they were rulers and they had convinced their people to build it, the purpose was to avoid being swept away in the event of another flood and to reach the heavens, possibly to confront the Father. Just like the serpent tried to fool Eve by tempting him of being godlike, Nimrod ruled his kingdom under the same idea. One historical fact about Nimrod is his birthday. Okay, it's December 25th, 1993 BC. That seems a little bit odd, and some red flags should be waving at that. Anyway, at some point Nimrod was killed, and there are many theories as to how that was, but I tend to lean towards he was murdered by Esau, who I believe was a distant cousin of Nimrod's. So now that with Cush dead and Nimrod dead, pregnant Semiramis had a big problem on her hands, okay? How was she going to rule these people when their God was dead? Okay, this is where a very important historical fact happened that would change the world forever. Okay, she lied. She lied. She told the people that she had a vision and she was going to have an immaculate conception. She was going to give birth to the reincarnation of Nimrod, her son, their God. There was nothing immaculate about this birth or this pregnancy. Semiramis, nicely put, was a whore who slept with her own son and was greedy for power. This is the whore of Babylon. I'm telling you about her right here. Okay, now remember, if we suppose Semiramis is the queen of heaven and Lucifer, okay, the fallen pieces, the fallen partner of our father, who was again hungry for power, we can put those pieces together and set them aside and come back to them later. Okay, you're really going to have to pay attention and catch on to what I'm saying here. Please also remember, Babylon literally means confusion. So yes, this is confusing, but once you get it, you'll be able to see. Okay, we know that the Queen of Heaven was worshipped and this was very unliked by the Father. It was a Baal worship. These are all pagan and unholy, the Baal worshiping. It is an abomination to those who hold these gods at any level comparable to our Father. Okay, so now let's go back to the story. Semiramis claimed while she was pregnant she came across a tree stump. The stump magically manifested into a fresh evergreen tree. This is said to represent the coming rebirth of the sun god who was immaculately conceived, who was also one with his father. Sounds familiar, right? We can look back in history at artwork made of Semiramis holding her son, whose name was Tammuz, but thought of as Nimrod as well. It is strikingly a familiar pose, mother with son, okay? So familiar, it's enough for someone who sees it to completely write off a true Messiah. Understandably so, but there's more to this story, okay? So let's go on. Then we have the winter solstice, where the gods are prayed to for the returning of the sun. Okay, it seems a little bit symbolic to me, but hey, what do I know? The winter The winter solstice starts on December 21st, and the birthday of Nimrod is celebrated December 25th with all its symbolatry. We have the evergreen tree that was chopped out of the fields and decked with silver and gold in people's homes, with the wreaths that represented the woman's reproductive area, and the holly for the Saint Holly, who looks an awful lot like Santa Claus. The mistletoe, another representation in paganism for reproducing and sexual activity. Something funny that most people don't pay much mind to is a verse that we see in Jeremiah chapter 10. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel. Thus saith the Lord, learn not the way of the heathen, and be not dismayed at the signs of heaven, for the heathen are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are in vain, for one cutteth the tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver and gold, they fasten it with nails and with hammers, that it move not. Okay, I don't know about you, but this sounds like a Christmas tree. Okay. So they shall... Okay, sorry, I got a little bit lost. Thus shall ye say unto them, the gods that have not made the heavens and the earth, even they shall perish from the earth and from under these heavens. Again, notice the plural heavens with the S. But wait, I thought December 25th was Jesus' birthday, right? Jesus is the reason for the season, right? Well, that makes me laugh. It is true, but it's not what you think, okay? Let me go on so I can explain this. If you notice, I do not refer to a Jesus or a God. I say Father and the Son or Messiah. Yes, they have names, but I am not quite there yet, okay? Just for giggles, let's look at Jesus in the Bible. Where does it say he was born on December 25th? Okay, you don't need to waste your time because it's not there, okay? The only hint we have to when he was born is that the shepherds were sleeping in the fields with their flocks, according to the Bible. So, late December, I don't know if you're going to be sleeping outside. I don't know, just me. I'm not going to speculate another time. The Bible just simply does not say when he was born. Okay. Now let's go back to where we were. Now back to the Tower of Babel. At this time, the world inhabitants spoke another language. This is not only restricted to biblical belief, this is pretty much the conclusion of all of them. It is said the father was made so mad that he destroyed the tower and spread the people all over and changed the languages to cause confusion. So what does this mean? And why is this so significant? This is where we take that puzzle we've been building and we're going to add another piece to it. Okay? The Queen of Heaven and Trinity-like belief in pagan systems still lived on. The names, they changed. Okay? The language changed. The names change. One fact I didn't mention earlier is the symbolatry of Semiramis and Nimrod. The symbol known for Semiramis is a crescent moon. The symbol known for Nimrod is the sun. This is where we get sun god worship and our female lunar deities. Now this is where it gets exciting. Just what names did these pagan gods take on? There may be too many to mention, but I want to name a few. One huge one shortly. I'm going to get comfortable here, sorry. So first let's look at the people who were moved to Egypt. We see the story of Osiris, Isis, and Horus. Okay, so I'm going to read you just a real short thing on the Egyptian myth of creation. From Geb, the sky god, and Nut, the earth goddess, came 4 children, Osiris, Isis, Set, and Nephthys. Osiris was the oldest, so became the king of Egypt, and he married his sister Isis. Osiris was a good king and commanded the respect of all who lived on earth and the gods who dwell in the netherworld. The netherworld. However, Set was always jealous of Osiris because he did not command the respect of those on earth or those in the netherworld. One day, Set transformed himself into a vicious monster and attacked Osiris, killing him. Set then cuts Osiris into pieces and distributed them throughout the length of the breadth of Egypt. With Osiris dead, Set became king of Egypt and with his sister Nephthys and as his wife. But she felt sorry for her sister Isis, who wept endlessly over her lost husband. Isis, who had great magical powers, decided to find her husband and bring him back to life long enough so that they could have a child. Together with her sister, Isis roamed the country collecting the pieces of her husband's body and reassembling them. Once she completed this task, she breathed the breath of life into his body and resurrected him. They were together again, and Isis became pregnant soon after Osiris was able to descend into the underworld, where he became the lord of that domain. The child born to Isis was named Horus, the hawk god. Okay, so this story may kind of sound a little bit familiar. Could this be Semiramis and Nimrod who made its way down the grapevine and started a new sets of God? We still don't have enough evidence here, so let's look at some more. In ancient Egypt, the crescent is a symbol of the mother of gods, Isis. So what do you know? Horus has a symbol too. It's the sun. Languages change, names change, but the symbols do not. Okay, so now let's see one more end-all discussion fact. The birthday of Horus was annually celebrated about December 25th. Well, now that's strange. And if that was not enough, Isis is oddly enough referred to as the Queen of Heaven. So that one's done. We have an Egyptian translation after the language change of Semiramis and Nimrod. Next, let's look at Rome. Let's take a look at Diana. There's already a flag here because, yes, you guessed it, she is also referred to as the Queen of Heaven and is said to be a virgin lunar goddess. Yes, her symbol is the crescent moon as well. This Diana also goes by the name Artemis. Okay, when the Greek city of Ephesus fell to Roman rule, goddess Diana was merged with the Greek goddess Artemis. This is most likely due to the fact around the time of the Roman Empire, Romans would allow places they took over to continue worshiping their own gods and goddesses, incorporating those goddesses into the Roman pantheon. Okay, so the Roman Empire back in this time, and still even today, the Roman Empire had what was just full of pagan practices, okay? But what they would do, well, instead of just fighting over religions, they would sometimes let religions combine into their paganism. Okay, so we're going to kind of cover that a little bit in a second. So as a virgin, Artemis had an interest in many gods. Okay, well, I'm just gonna go through this really quick, but she the only thing missing from this story that fits Semiramis and Nimrod is the child. Okay, everything else fits to a T except this one, she didn't have a son. Okay, so let's look at Greece. We find Astarte. Astarte was connected with fertility, sexuality, and war. Also, the name Astarte kind of goes back to the word star, which we also see Lucifer referred to as the fallen morning or the morning star. Okay, Astarte. She's also known as Ishtar. Astarte's most common symbol was the crescent moon, as was Ishtar's. And what do you know? She's also called the Queen of Heaven. Oh, and look here. She did have a rebirth of a solar god on December 25th. How convenient, huh? Are we starting to see a pattern here? Because this is just too fun. Okay, let's look at Hinduism. Can we find her there too? It is said, all right, because of his sympathy for the earth, the divine Vishnu himself descended into the womb of Devaki and was born to her son Krishna. In Buddhism, we have Maya, who fell asleep and dreamed that 4 angels carried her to the Himalayan mountains where their queens bathed and dressed her. In her dream, the great being soon entered her womb from her side. Okay, another virgin birth. When she woke, from her dream, she summoned 64 Brahmins to interpret it. They said, "Be not anxious, O king, your queen has conceived, and the fruit of her womb will be a man-child. It will not be a woman-child. You will have a son, and he, if he adopts a householder's life, will become a king, a universal monarch. But if leaving his home he adopts a religious life, he will become a Buddha, who will be removed from the world, will remove the world's ignorance and sin." Okay, so we just found her in Hinduism. We just found her in Buddhism. All these people have all the same characteristics and symbolatry. In China, we see Qi, who later became known as Huji, the culture hero, god of agriculture. He was miraculously conceived when his mother stepped in a footprint left by the supreme god and had a immaculate conception. His birthday is December 25th. Okay, I could go on. So what does all of this mean? Okay, I'm telling you, there's many of these in every religion, in every one. What about the Messiah in our Bible? Is that just Semiramis and Nimrod too? That can't be. But sadly, that's what a lot of people assume. And I can see why. I can see why, but that's not it. There's more to this story. So let me make one thing very clear before I go on. We do have a Messiah that was sent to this very earth to make a bridgeway for the believers from the curse of Adam. He is real. The story that these are all stemming from are actually parts of the biggest lie ever told, that Semiramis immaculately conceived Tammuz, the supposed reincarnation of Nimrod. All of these other religions, oh, and by the way, this is where reincarnation comes from, Babylon. Okay. All of these other religions I just mentioned are a manifestation of this lie that spread like wildfire with the language changes. But we can see clearly with the symbolatry used that these are all the same beings. I'm going to throw you off here a little bit. This indeed is confusing, so hang on. I will do my best to explain. Look at the picture of the Mexican-style Virgin Mary. What is she standing on? She's standing on the crescent moon. Go to Google Images and type in Virgin Mary and crescent and see how many times she is portrayed with the crescent moon. She too had an immaculate conception of a son from the Father. She too was a virgin. And for some reason, even though there is no biblical evidence, we celebrate her son's birthday on December 25th. So what in the world is going on here? When the world was under the curse of Adam, everyone who died was going to hell. And I show that later in the other video, okay? It's actually really awesome, okay? The Father, in a way, can be seen by our human eye. The Father had to find a way to be seen by our human eyes in our earthly existence, okay? He had to make an earthly version of himself and play by his own rules. He chose Mary, and she is the only one who immaculately conceived a child. You see, Lucifer knew the plans of the Father. She was indeed his partner at one point and was the Queen of Heaven. She was the wisest of all the angels. If you don't think she was smart enough to do this, then you are mistaken. Now let's take this little uncomfortable but honest look into Jesus Christ and Mary of the Christian faith. All right. Christianity developed out of Judaism in the 1st century. The church that Jesus established was referred to as the Way in Acts 9:2. The oldest writing that we have refers to the Catholic Church from a letter by Ignatius on the way to his death in 108 AD. In his letter, he referred to the Catholic Church as if it were already long used title. The fact is that no Christian denomination can trace itself or its name back as far as the Catholic Church. Okay? But you may say, wait a second. Further in Acts, we see the mentioning of Christians. The word Christians is only mentioned 3 times in the entire Bible, and Christianity is mentioned 0 times. So let's take a look back into the great discovery of the Dead Sea Scrolls that are believed to be older, and some around this time of 100 AD, and see what we can find. Oh, that's right. There's no mention of Christians. And better yet, there is no one named Christ or Jesus or God. There is mention of God, so with lowercase g. A careful analysis of the scroll provides numerous indications that the authors pictured Melchizedek or Yeshua as being both identical with and distinct from Yahweh or Elohim. So, there is no name Jesus or God or Christ, meaning there also is no name Christian that is derived from the name Christ. So where did these names come from that don't sound anything like the originals? And is it even important? Let's take a look. The Roman Catholic Church was moved to Rome by Peter after he fled Jerusalem, from what the Catholics say. They claim that it was Peter who was the first pope. We need to understand a little bit more about Peter, okay? And we do know that he did follow and walk with the Messiah, and his name was originally Simon and was changed to Peter. And we didn't know then. We're just now finding out now that this name change from Simon to Peter would play a role in the future and end of the Roman Catholic Church, okay? So, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to read all that. We do need to remember, too, that it was Peter who did turn his back on the Messiah and denied him not once or twice, but 3 times. Okay, we read when the Messiah comes back, it's in John chapter 21, where the Lord asks him 3 times, do you love me? Do you love me? Do you love me? And he says, yes, yes, Lord, you know I love you. You know all things. You know I love you. Okay, and he keeps telling him, tend to my sheep, feed my sheep. And then he says, most assuredly, I say to you, when you were younger, you girded yourself and walked where you wished. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands and another will gird you and carry you where you do not wish. This, I believe he was speaking about his death that would glorify God. So let's keep all of this in mind. So it's my beliefs that the earliest years of the Catholic Church, if he in fact was the first pope of it, could have possibly held no deceit. But I don't really see any link of Peter to Catholicism other than by the word coming from the Catholics themselves. To me, I find the Catholic Church was started by the Roman Empire, and they laid claim to Peter. Because according to Christian tradition, Peter was crucified in Rome under Emperor Nero Augustus Caesar. It is traditionally held that he was crucified upside down at his own request, since he saw himself unworthy to be crucified the same way as Jesus Christ. So let me get this right. If Peter is the first pope of the church, why would he be crucified and killed by the Roman emperor? Really? So let's go back to that verse I last read where the Messiah is talking to Peter again. He says, most assuredly, I say to you, when you were younger, you girded yourself and walked where you wish. But when you are old, you will stretch out your hands and another will gird you and carry you where you do not wish. Are you following me? Peter was killed by Nero Augustus Caesar, who was in power during the times from 54 to 68 AD. So we know his time of death was in these years. So the claim of the Catholic Church is that it all started with Peter. The Roman Catholic Church contends that its origins are his death, resurrection, and ascension from Jesus Christ in approximately 30 AD. The Catholic Church proclaims itself to be the church that the Messiah died for, the church that was established and built by the apostles. They say that they are the only true Christian church. Okay? But this is on the contrary. Even a cursory reading of the New Testament will reveal that the Catholic Church does not have its origins in the teaching of the Messiah or his apostles. The New Testament, there is no mention of the papacy, worship, adoration of Mary, petitioning saints in heaven for their prayers, the ordinances of the church functioning as sacraments, infant baptism, confession of sin to a priest, purgatory, the equal authority of church and tradition and scripture. So if the origin of the Catholic Church is not in the teaching of the fathers and Son and his apostles as recorded in the New Testament, what is the true origin of the Catholic Church? So what is this mess and what is going on here? Okay, now we got a little bit of time left for some truth. Okay, for the first 280 years of Christian history, I will use the word Christian to not confuse anyone, but that was not the name of it. It was the way. Okay, and Christ did not even exist yet. The name Christ didn't even exist yet. So how could Christianity? Christianity was banned by the Roman Empire and Christians were terribly prosecuted. This changed after the conversion of the Roman Empire Constantine. Okay, so Christianity was not even allowed. It was banned from the Roman Empire. So if the Catholic Church was supposedly, if Peter was alive in the 40 AD and up to 280 AD, Christianity you were persecuted, then how is the Roman Catholic Church a Christian church? Okay, why was Peter even crucified in the first place by the Roman leader at the time? It was because he was preaching the true gospel, folks. Peter did not found the Catholic Church. This too is another lie. Oh, Constantine provided religious toleration in AD 313, effectively lifting the ban on Christianity. Later, in 325 AD, Constantine called the Council of Nicaea in an attempt to unify Christianity. Constantine envisioned Christianity as a religion that could unite the Roman Empire, which at that time was beginning to fragment and divide. The Roman Empire was a mess, so what was he going to do? While this may have seemed to be a positive development for the Christian church, the results were anything but positive, just as Constantine refused to fully embrace the Christian faith, but continued many of his pagan beliefs and practices. So the Christian church that Constantine promoted was a mixture of true Christianity and Roman paganism, who did have a queen of heaven. So it was under the rule of Constantine in the 3rd century AD when the Roman Empire was falling apart, and to calm the storm, he tolerated for the first time the Christian faith. And then this is where the Catholicism was created. Don't let anyone fool you. Constantine did not practice this faith. He was a pagan and worshipped the Queen of Heaven, the same Queen of Heaven that we have covered. So he meshed the two together, and thus formed what we call today Christianity, or a form of it. Constantine found that with the Roman Empire being so vast, expansive, and diverse, not everyone would agree to forsake his or her religious beliefs to embrace Christianity. So Constantine allowed and even promoted the Christianization of pagan beliefs. Completely pagan and utterly unbiblical beliefs were given to new Christian identities. Some clear examples of this are as followed, okay? The cult of Isis, an Egyptian mother goddess religion, was absorbed into Christianity by replacing Isis with Mary. Many of the titles that were used for Isis, such as Queen of Heaven, Mother of God, and God-bearer, were attached to Mary. Mary was given an exalted role in the Christian faith far beyond what the Bible ascribes to her, in order to attract Isis worshippers to a faith they would not otherwise embrace. Okay? Many temples to Isis were in fact converted into temples dedicated to Mary. The first clear hints of Catholic morality occurs in the writings of Origen, who lived in Alexandria, Egypt, which happened to be the focal point of Isis worship. Okay, so they needed a queen of heaven, they needed a mother goddess, they needed this virgin mother who immaculately conceived, who was sinless, who had the authority to forgive you for your sins, which is totally unbiblical. There is only one mediator, and that is Jesus. So it says, that's what you want to call him. But anyways, he is the only mediator, but they say that Mary is, we have Hail Mary and all this crap. Okay, this is the Queen of Heaven. They call Mary, I mean, look up what the Catholics call the Virgin Mary. They call her the Queen of Heaven. I'm not even going to go through all these. You're just going to have to look this kind of stuff up yourself. There's a lot of weird stuff going on with the Roman Catholic Church. And I do have another video that covers more on that with the Queen of Heaven and the Catholic Church. So, we see that holiday means holy day for December 25th, which was started by the Catholic Church, okay? And this was the sun god's birthday. This was Nimrod's birthday, who is also Horus, who is also, just like tons of people. All had the birthday of December 25th, so they made our Messiah's birthday December 25th as well. And that's when we celebrated it, because these people did not want to give up their rituals, their winter solstice, so they just made our Messiah's birthday December 25th, which is, again, totally unbiblical. Easter is another pagan holiday that has to do with the goddess Ishtar, whose symbol was of an egg, and like her son, like rabbits, okay? The day of the crucifixion is nowhere in the Bible. Do not think that this date that they put on it just came out of thin air, people. There's paganism attached to it. Same with Valentine's Day, even Groundhog's Day. It's just a huge mess, y'all, okay? We see the crescent placed with Mary all over the Catholic Church. It is the worship of the Queen of Heaven, and they also call the Virgin Mary this as well. They give her authority to forgive your sins, and I've already told you about that. Now, who is this Jesus? Don't tell me the Catholic Church came up with this name as well. Why would they? But if you read the King James Version from year 1611, you'll find something interesting. There is no such thing as a letter J. The letter J didn't exist until the 1600s. No joke. So we know without a doubt there is no way Jesus' name was Jesus. Remember, according to the oldest untouched text, he is Yeshua, and God is Elohim and Yahweh. And where did Christ come from? How do we get Jesus Christ's name? There is a little fact in Latin. Okay, this may not have been intended by them, but it's just a little fact. In Latin, Je means earth or soil, Sus means pig. In Latin, the word Jesus translated is pig of the earth. Do you think the Father would give this name to our Messiah? The way that he has with names, the beautifulness of names. I mean, you can take the genealogy from, Adam on down and do the meanings of the names, and it will just write out these beautiful sentences that are so revealing. And I mean, that's not our Messiah's name. I understand that this is a very sensitive subject, and it is difficult for people to accept that the person whom they have come to know as Jesus Christ has his identity married to such a degree that his true Hebrew image is barely visible from the original Yeshua, prophesied about in the Hebrew scriptures. But this should come as no surprise to us, since this was prophesied long ago by the prophet Isaiah, who foretold about how our Messiah's image would be married beyond recognition. In Isaiah chapter 52:14, it says, "As many were astonished at you, his visage was so married more than any man, and his form more than any of the sons of men." The Greeks and the Romans did indeed change our Messiah's name to fit Zeus for a very good reason, because Zeus had a December 25th birthday. Okay, so he's another one of these. So with our whole study, I'm sure you can see the trend with this birthday. Let me explain. In the 1611 King James Version, before the letter J appears, Jesus is spelled Jesus. In Latin, the term lo means hell or praise. Hence, on December 25th in ancient Rome, people would give praises to the god of Saturn on December 25th as they shouted, "Lo Saturnalia, Lo Saturnalia." This was a day for orgies, child sacrifices, drunkenness, gluttony, overindulgence of the flesh, and just total, just ugh. All right. Later on, as Christianity began to spread through the Roman Empire, the Roman pagan god of Jupiter and Greek pagan god Zeus were merged into Jesus. And so the mantra changed from Lo Saturnalia, praise Saturn, to Lo Zeus, which literally means praise Zeus. I realize that for many of us who grew up learning the name of Jesus, that this is difficult to accept, the fact that Satan would want to tamper with and sabotage the true name of our Messiah, but why should that surprise you? The original Hebrew or Jewish name of the professing Jewish Messiah, who was accepted as such by a certain section of Israel, and oh gosh, all this reading, I'm sorry. But he was known as Yeshua. Jesus was Yeshua, okay? And in time, over the first few centuries after our Messiah, his name was gradually changed to Jesus Christos by the pagan masses who converted and joined the originally Jewish Messianic sect, okay? Out of this, Christianity was born, which was a mixture of originally pure Judaism and gradually progressive influences of pagan customs and traditions, together with a growing tide of anti-Semitic spirit. Okay, this was greatly due to the influential leaders like Constantine the Great, who was a Zeus worshiper and who purportedly converted to Christianity. It was also a natural process as a result for the infiltration of followers of the sun god Zeus into the Christian ranks. Even the name of their pagan idol Zeus was applied to their newfound Jewish Messiah Yeshua, became Jesus or Jesus, which became Jesus or Jesus in English. And so the name Christ comes from the name Christos. Remember, Catholicism was what we call Christianity and paganism combined. We have Zeus from the pagan worship and Christos, also called Krishna. I think we have covered Krishna briefly on who Krishna was. But Krishna, it was the Hindu god born from a virgin on December 25th. This is simply Tammuz, the supposed reincarnation of Nimrod and the child of the Queen of Heaven, which is Lucifer. So Jesus may be the Messiah to you, but the name Jesus is a reference to Nimrod, the son of Cush, the great grandson of Noah, who was the ruler of Babylon, who built the tower, who had the languages changed. Is this important? Is the name? Yes, and I will show you. Let's look at the Lord's Prayer. It starts with our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Hallowed means holy, sanctified, etc. First Chronicles 16:10 we read, glory ye in his holy name. Let the heart of them rejoice that seek the Lord. Ezekiel 20:39 as for you, O house of Israel, thus says the Lord God, go ye, serve ye every one of his idols, and hereafter also, if you will not hearken unto me, but pollute ye my holy name no more with your gifts and with your idols. And 36:21 but I had pity for my holy name, which the house of Israel had profaned among the heathen whither they went. I can keep going, but I won't. I will just tell you the name of the Father and of the Son are holy and has been polluted through Baal worship and paganism. The stories with the virgin mothers and the sun gods and all these religions sounds very close to the Virgin Mary and Jesus because they are the same thing. Our true Messiah has been under attack since the beginning in the land of Babylon or confusion. Your father's name is Yahweh and his son's name is Yeshua, and there is power in these holy names if you use it. Oh, how I have so much more to say, but I believe this has been long enough. Bless you and have a wonderful day. Please check out my video on what happened before, to the people before Jesus died on the cross. Okay. You know, I do have to do some of these videos talking about Jesus because if I just come out there and just say the truth without explaining it, people are really turned off by it, and I really want people to hear me out. I do believe that we have a deception coming, if not in our lifetimes, in our children's lifetimes, for sure, for certainly our grandchildren's lifetimes. When you follow this path down the knowledge of the Bible and start fitting together the pieces, you can see the plan that has been going on since the beginning of time. You can see how it's today. It's going on today, even today, with our rulers and our leaders, just as the Bible has told us about. The Bible is true, but the names have been changed to fit other pagan religions. We need to look way back. We need to look before these. We need to take the time to investigate, take the time to learn. There, you know, there's just so much more. I just wish I had more time. Gosh, I can't stop. Just one more thing. The image of Jesus. Okay, it says in the Ten Commandments, it says, "Thou shalt make none unto any graven images or any likeness of things in heaven above or that is on earth beneath." We aren't supposed to make images of things that are in heaven, not of Mary. We don't know what Mary looked like. We're looking at the Queen of Heaven when we're looking at the Virgin Mary, okay? Just change. When we look at the pictures of Jesus, the Jesus that you see in your head, Yeshua, when you look at these pictures of him, you know, we all know the white guy with the long hair, and okay, this was not our Messiah. He was dark colored and skin. It even biblically says so. He was not white. Okay, this who we are looking at is a guy named Caesar Borgia. Okay, Caesar Borgia. Michelangelo painted Caesar Borgia as Jesus Christ to deceive the world. Okay, Michelangelo knew what was going on here. And who was this Caesar Borgia? It was the Pope Alexander the Sixth of Rome, his second son, who was a very, very powerful man. This is why we're not supposed to make pictures of the Father. We're not supposed to make pictures of the Son. We're not supposed to have pictures of Mary. We're not supposed to have pictures of any of that. We're not supposed to have pictures of the devil because, well, the world thinks that the devil is a man. Okay, all these pictures, all these graven images have just really just twisted things up. It's just a huge, huge mess. And oh, man, just bless you all, and thank you if you made it this far for hearing me all the way out. This was a very, very important video to me, and I hope I showed you something, or at least showed you that there's someone else there out there who got it. I got it, okay? And I just pray that you do too.